Welcome to the How to Adult podcast, where we learn all things adulting. My name is Travis Walker, and I will be your host. And today's topic is all about leadership and leadership skills and growing those skills to be an effective leader. And today's guest is Alex Seale. He is quickly becoming a leader in the leadership conversation. And so I'm so excited to talk to him. So buckle up because we are about to learn how to adult. We are back for another episode of How to Adult, and we've got an incredible guest today. Alex Seale from the Pivot Experience is here. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing fabulous. Doing fabulous. We've got a great topic today, which is utilizing our leadership skills in an effective manner. And it seems like you are really establishing yourself as a leader in that field. And so I'd like to give you an opportunity just to share about a little bit who you are, your background, and the work that you're doing currently, because it's pretty amazing.
Well, thank you. So I'll try to keep this short. I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. Thank you so much, Travis, for having me on your platform and inviting me to your platform. From our understanding, we have a mutual friend in Roderick. Recently, he was on our show, and he had a chance to express his story. And so through you seeing that has brought this here. Brought us together rather. I've worked for what I call and they call themselves the world's most caring company for the last 21 years. I started working at Chick Fil A when I was 14 years old, wiping tables on Saturdays from 11 to 5,
Wow.
and working my way into a leadership position at 18. I traveled the country between the ages 18 to 20 doing grand openings. I went to California, Kansas, Oklahoma, Florida, opening up Chick Fil A's. And then finally, my operator decided to kind of plant me a little bit and gave me the GM position. So I was the GM of the Chick Fil A's here at 21 years old. And I don't want to date myself too much, but at 21, and so that kind of put a halt to my traveling career for Chick Fil A, and I've been doing that for up until this point. I'm still the operating partner currently for both of the Chick Fil A's here in town. So we manage over I'll call it what 8 figures in sales volume between the two Chick Fil A's, and so I'm just fortunate to have the opportunity to do that. Apart from my work at Chick Fil A, I've had the opportunity to serve our city on the school board as a manager. So learning about local politics and what that looks like, and I've had the opportunity to just really peek behind the veil and see what the inner workings of one of the largest businesses in our city, and that's the school system. I currently serve on the executive board for Junior Achievement. Actually, Junior Achievement is the reason why I have the job at Chick Fil A. The executive director at the time, she reached out to Robert, and Robert that's the owner of the Chick Fil A's here, and they was
Yeah.
opening one on Dowling, and hey, he said, "Do you have any applicants?" And she sent me his way. So, and so it's kind of a full circle moment for me to be able to serve Junior Achievement in that capacity because they are the reason why I think my leadership journey has gotten to it's at least the start of it at least. And my wife and we own if you see back here, this double S back here is Studio Seale. She's an interior designer, so I handle a lot of the admin work for her while she's doing her design work. We have a studio here, a brick and mortar here in town. If you need some design work, we can talk about that later. Uh, we also own and operate a food truck where I believe, have some of the world's greatest tacos. And the reason why you have me on your show is TPE, the Pivot Experience. I have a passion for leadership development. I believe that the skills that I've acquired over the last 20 years working for Chick Fil A has positioned me to be able to share the things that I've learned. I think there's a lot of people out there that undervalue their leadership, undervalue the potential that they have, and that was really the thrusting point for me to get into this business. I've had the opportunity, as you can see behind me, to work with some great coaches. Actually, combined, we have about 50 years worth of Chick Fil A organizational experience on our team here
Wow.
at TPE, and so just having a great opportunity to help others pivot into their next. The TPE stands for the Pivot Experience, where my goal and objective is to create content at various different tiers to be able to help people make it to the next level. Whether that's free based. You see a lot of my content on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. That's, we're pouring out in that area to help people grow. And then we also have other opportunities for people to be able to participate with us in their growth journey. So I don't know if I can call that the skinny, but that was the skinny on who I am. In a nutshell. And I gotta say this. And I'm sorry. I know Travis, you're ready to move
Yeah.
forward. I gotta say, I am, and I should have led with this. And if my wife hears this, I apologize for not leading with this. But I'm married. We have 3 children. Yeah, I want to make sure I throw that in there. Beautiful wife, beautiful kids. So, yeah, there we are.
That's important. That's important to note.
Yes, sir.
I'd get slapped on the wrist. So,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing all that, and really impressive stuff. And why I'm so excited to learn from you is the pivot experience, of course, but also your experience with Chick Fil A, which is what I would consider the top tier of customer service in the whole world. I mean, it's Chick Fil A and Disney. I mean, you can't compete with their customer service. It's just incredible. And so I'm really excited to learn from you. And I'd like to start with getting a common definition. We're here to talk about leadership and our leadership skills. And so let's get a common definition. What does leadership mean to you?
Well, I like John Maxwell's definition of leadership, and he's well documented in defining leadership as influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so, as a leader, it is your goal to be an influence of the people that you're serving, whether that's directly or indirectly. I have the opportunity to directly serve 220 people on our teams at Chick Fil A. I have the opportunity to indirectly serve and have an influence on the people who watch my channels or the various different social media platforms. And that can go both ways. Influence is positive, influence is also negative. But I like to think, if you are influencing someone to be better or to do something different or to pivot, you are a leader. So that's my definition of leadership.
Yeah, man, that's really good. I love that. And so when we consider leadership and developing our skills and becoming a strong leader, what do you think allows what does that allow you to accomplish? Why should people want to be a strong leader in their workplace, in their families, and affect positively the people around them?
I think when you are a strong leader, and here's the deal. Let me say this first and foremost. I didn't. I should have said this in some of the definition. Leadership is a journey, right? It's ongoing.
Yeah.
There's no destination, and so in developing your skills and becoming a strong leader, I believe you can create impact around the things that are most important to you. I think that every one of us has something that we believe in, that we think is important, that we think is going to create a stream of income for us, that's going to help other people, whatever that looks like, right? And all of us are not necessarily looking for gains in the terms of a monetary gain, but we also might be looking for gains in trying to help people who are poverty stricken, or helping people raise their intellect in certain areas. Like whatever that is, and that's important to you, it requires you to be a leader to maximize your ability to be able to impact those things. So to answer your question, I think the stronger your leadership, or the stronger leader you are, the greater opportunity you have to make your dreams and passions come true, because you will have the skill sets to be able to galvanize people around those common goals. I think a lot of times when we look at what we want to do, we negate the fact that it's most likely going to, at some point we'll need a team, or some point we'll need other people to be involved with what we're trying to do if we really want to take things to the highest level that we want to. I mean, just for example, right now, How to Adult is where it's at. Yeah, I'm assuming you might be a one-man show right now, maybe.
Oh, for
But
sure.
but at a certain point, if this thing starts to grow and it starts to gain traction, you'll may need to solicit a social media manager to be able to manage what's going on behind the scenes in that area, or you might need to solicit a business manager if you're being approached about wanting to come on stage and give keynotes on this idea of how to adult. Because speaking to you before we got on recording, just the idea of what your target audience is, I think it's a great thing that you're trying to do. And if it continues to grow, you'll need to get other people involved, and you will, I'll say you will fail, but it'll be difficult for you to continue to scale and maximize your ability to create that influence if you're not a strong leader. If you can't communicate with people, if you can't do so in my world, the stronger leader. And here's the thing: I think about leadership skills are not most leadership skills are not defined to what you're doing. They're transferable. So if you're working at the plant of Motiva, for those of you who may not be listening from that are not from around here, you don't know what Motiva is. It's a pretty big plant or refinery, I
Right.
should say. But if you're working there and then you go work at Walmart, you go work at Target, you go work at Kroger, whatever it is, there is a basis of similarity when it comes down to what it means to how to treat people, how to talk to people, how to make them position them to want to follow you. And so I think that when you develop your leadership skills, you just maximize your opportunity to be able to blossom wherever you want to be. So I hope that is that sufficient.
Yeah, that was incredible and jam packed.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And you talk about leadership being a journey, and I think that is incredibly accurate. It is a journey. There is no one that has accomplished. No, there's no one that's there, right? It's something that we constantly have to be striving after. And so, from someone that I'm considering an expert in the field, where are you still learning and still grappling with this idea of leadership? Is there anything that you're currently working on in the leadership world?
Transparently, I believe so. So here's the tough thing about where I'm at currently. You kind of going a little off script here, and I like it. The thing that I'm having the most challenge with now is that I've worked it for 20 years in a very corporately supported, well funded, a massive network of leaders and examples and best practices. And now I'm now involved in 3 businesses that are spun off of that leadership as the individual. So I go from being, and I'm still plugged into a organization, to now being the head of an organization. Taking from the great things that I've learned at Chick Fil A, and then putting my own spin on it. And it's been, not necessarily hasn't been a challenge. It's been challenging, in terms of like, okay, maintaining the high level of excellence at my 9 to 5, I would say, and then creating a whole nother level of excellence in this other area. Now, the thing that has been working out well for us is that I work with people who come from the same cloth as Chick Fil A, but really defining my own cultures, defining my own pace and tone of work. That has been the biggest challenge, because a lot of content you consume, and this is not no knock to anything, a lot of the content that you consume is, in my opinion, geared towards you being plugged into a machine versus creating the machine. And so it's there. I think there's some mindset shifts that I'm currently having to make and adjust, as I'm okay. I'm serving. I am the end, not say end all be all, but in a sense, I kind of am for some of these entities. Like, all right, I make the calls, I make the decisions, and for so many years, I've had the luxury of, if I needed to, I can defer. Or let's, and
Yeah.
I might be telling on myself a little bit too much here, but like, even if I didn't really need to defer, I could use the deferral to my advantage. You know what I mean? If
Hmm.
someone was to come to me about something for work at Chick Fil A, I already know the answer, but I can easily say, "Well, hey, the owner may not." Even though I'm already digesting the answer, I already know what the answer is. I have that safety net. Whereas when you're out on your own and you're trying to be an entrepreneur, like, just like what your own podcast. Like, I'm sure you do something outside of this work that you're doing here. So that the success of your podcast is strictly contingent on how much work you're putting into it, how much time you're putting into
Right.
it. Are you doing the work to solicit guests, to solicit these different things? And whereas normally I in my normal day-to-day work, I don't have that struggle. All I gotta do is
Right.
come in and push the buttons that I know and pull the levers that I know that are already existing. I'm creating levers and buttons now. And so I think that's where the biggest challenge is for me currently. And but I'm just thankful to I continue to consume content. I'm still a student. I still listen to podcasts. I still read books. I still because again, going back to that journey piece, it's an ongoing thing that we never stop doing. And then at the moment, and then this is I've heard this, and this might come across as extreme. The moment you stop growing is the moment you start dying, and that's very like figurative, right? But it's like
Yeah.
the moment you think that you've arrived and you've made it, you're putting a cap and a ceiling on what your potential is, and so that's kind of where I'm at currently with what I got going on from a leadership standpoint.
Wow. That was really helpful. I think it's really helpful to learn from people's like current state, and so that was really helpful. And so, continuing with that, maybe debatable comments. Let's get into a debate in this leadership realm or leadership conversation in the sense of is leadership a learned skill or is it a skill people are born with?
I'm of the belief that everybody's born to be a leader in some capacity. I do believe that, and this is where I think it gets a little fuzzy here in terms of the debate aspect of things. I do believe, so I'm gonna say this in two different ways. I believe that we all should take out the trash, right? But I also believe there's people that need to take out the trash. Does that make sense? Like, I
Sure.
think that no matter, okay, sure, I was GM, I'm owner, I'm whatever title that I hold. If there's trash on the ground or trash that needs to be taken out, I should have the humility, the wherewithal, and the buy-in to the vision to pick that trash up or take that trash out. But on the flip side of that, there should be people in place to do that as well. So to your question, you can be a leader even if you're tasked to check out the trash. Do that the best of your ability and build on top of that. I told you in the beginning of this when I was telling you about myself. I vividly remember grand opening weekend at Chick Fil A. They had a grand opening trainer coming in, and he was showing me how to change out the trash bag. Like so again, to your question, at that moment at 14 years old, all the people who were looking at me did they see the current form of me now? Probably not. But it was there. It just needed to be cultivated, right? And so I think I was born a leader. I think you were born a leader. I think everybody is born a leader. It's a matter of, do they give themselves the opportunity to let their leadership flourish? And I think that's where the issue is. Sometimes I think, and this is particular to this time, and you say your audience, oh, I know what your demo is. And I think a lot of times we look at social media, and social media is awesome. Don't get me wrong. It has been a beautiful gateway. But I think also too, social media gives us a false sense of like, of not say hope, but false sense of being that, oh, we can do whatever it is that we. There are some people that are talented. I would never be as talented. I would say Michael Jordan, but I'm going to use LeBron James because your demo might identify with LeBron James a little bit more. I will never be as skilled as LeBron James at basketball, no matter how much I practice. Like literally, there are some physical things that LeBron James, just from a DNA genetic standpoint, that he has that I don't. Right. So
Sure.
so so for me is that, are you willing to find your lane, or are you willing to accept where you are and then let those leadership skills that are natural to you flourish? You know what I mean? Like a lot of these things, think about this. And I don't know, we should have maybe discussed this beforehand, but I'm just gonna say it. You tell me if it's out of bounds. By design, when we created, right, a lot of the things that are currently in place, a lot of the industry that wasn't there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of like refineries, automobiles, none of this stuff was in existence at our inception as human beings. And so all of this
Right.
stuff that we have leaders in and that we see greatness in, it was because there was something that was already in them that they can translate into those industries, that they can translate and take, like, okay, cool, I've been gifted with these things already. All I got to do is take that gifting and put it into that bucket, right? And then allow that to flourish and to grow it as much as I can. That's as much as I'm willing to grow it. I think that's what it is. You go to the store and you buy a pack of seeds. That pack of seeds is going to be what it's going to be. It doesn't know what it does. Those seeds have no idea what ground is going in. When you go to
Yeah.
Lowe's, you don't know if, hey, this could be somebody from Lumberton, or I'm sorry, I'm being too specific geographically, but this could be anybody going buy a pack of seeds or ordering seeds offline. Though that seed doesn't know where it's going to be planted. If you buy something from Amazon, that seed can go to China, it can go to Mexico, it can go wherever, as long as that seed is given the right amount of attention that it needs to grow. Every seed is different. Every seed requires a different level of moisture, a different level of sunlight, a different level of depth in which you plant it. We're just like that. We all different seeds,
Yeah.
and if we're placed in the right environments, we'll grow. And so that's just like saying you have a bag of a bag of apple seeds, and you say, hey, which of these seeds are going to bear apple? No, they all will be apple trees if they are nurtured in the capacity in which they are supposed to be. So to answer your question, I think leaves are born. They just got to be planted in the right conditions and given the opportunity to grow. And a lot of times what we fail to realize is that we have the opportunity of choosing the soil that we go into, but we just got to make sure it's the right soil. We're affiliating with the right people and going to the right places. Sorry.
No, that was great, and you're talking about environment, which I think is really good, and the growth and the flourishing and the development, really. And so I'm curious, in some of the ways that you think are most effective in that growth, in that development, in this conversation around leadership skills. Where have you seen the most effective growth opportunities and development opportunities in this realm of leadership?
I think number one, and this is going to come across maybe very simple, very like, okay, like, why did I even call you to come on, come talk on this show? But I think self-awareness is
Yes.
is key. Like, you have to be, and here's the deal, becoming self-aware requires you to not have yes men or yes women in your corner. It's requiring you to surround yourself with people who are willing to tell you the truth about who you are, your performance, no matter like how frustrated you get. Like my wife that I negated to introduce in the beginning of my background, my background, it keeps me self-aware. Like, even though I get frustrated, usually the people closest to you can cut you the deepest, right? And so she'll flat out tell me, hey, the way you come across is X, Y, and Z, right? Or the way you approach that situation made it, you could have did that better. And if I'm willing to look into that mirror, and if I'm committed to this journey of leadership and committed to always getting better, taking that feedback so I can become more aware of how I'm coming across to other people, becoming truly aware of what my performance is from in the eyes of the people who I'm serving, or in the eyes of the people who are laying out the expectation. I think that's very important. So I think number one, being self-aware. Then number two, what plays into that self-awareness, once you generate a short list of things that you need to work on in becoming self-aware, I think aligning yourself with content, podcasts, books, whatever, that will help you build those competencies. Like, I know there's a library of content out there. There's, you pick them: John Maxwell, Andy Stanley, Craig Rochelle, um, Les Brown. The list goes on and on and on of people who have content, free content, of course, that are subject based, to where you can find something that will help you, give you some insight on how can you get better at whatever it is that you have become aware about. So I think number one, if anything, is just becoming self-aware of where some of us are better communicators than others. Some of us are better at innovating than others. Some of us are better at having discernment than others. And so, like, understanding where your strengths and where your weaknesses lie, leveraging your strengths to your advantage, and while working on those things that you're weaker in. So I think that would be number one.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. And I'm going to go off book again here because I was reflecting on your story that you shared at the beginning, and I reflect on my own journey, and the most pivotal years that set me on the trajectory that I am as a leader now started in really my college years, and the mentors that I had that were developing me. And it sounds like young in your career, there were some people that really surrounded around you. And so I'm curious about the timing of all of this. When should we really be paying attention to maybe the grassroots of our leadership journey? Or does it start anywhere? Does the timing not really matter at all?
I don't know how familiar you are with this gentleman. So this is two lines of thought here. It's a gentleman named Gary V. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes.
Yeah, very. Look, I'm not suggesting anybody can go find him, but he is a voice in leadership, a voice in entrepreneurship, and he always says it's never too late. Like, hey, it's never too late to start your journey. So at any point in which you feel like you should be doing better, start doing better. So number one, so anybody out there listening, don't think that it's ever too late for you to be better or to pursue your dreams. I think that if I'm not mistaken, they said the guy that started KFC was like in his 50s whenever it really started happening.
Wow.
There's plenty of stories out there of guys who really didn't start catching their stride until their 40s or so. Now, that's one mindset. Second, the second line of thought would be, I would say you can. Here's the thing: like if you're working, I never thought that Chick Fil A would have done what it's doing for me in my life ever. Like when I first started working at Chick Fil A, my goal was to go to school to become a mechanical engineer. I was going to Detroit to help redesign engines for General Motors. That was my thing. My dad drove trucks. I used to ride in the trucks during the summertime. Whenever during the summer we go back and forth to Houston. He's extremely mechanically inclined. I would always, be right behind him. He's fixing the washer. I'm right there. I'm learning the tools. I get so just that aspect of things is what I always wanted to do. But then I realized that I can be great doing anything as long as I got the right mindset towards it, towards
Yeah.
towards what it is that I want to do. And then bigger than that, when you really get in touch with who you are and your level of impact that you want to have, it doesn't matter really the conduit that happens in. Like my one of my biggest things is again I'll focus on TPE. The pivot experience is to help people pivot into their next. Like I can help people pivot at Chick Fil A. I can help people pivot at the Shell gas station if that's where I was working at. I can help people pivot anywhere. Like once you really get in touch and tap into what you are, because here's the thing. Like again, I don't want to be like super biblical, and let me know if this is like kind of
No, you're
off
good. You're
of course.
good. Come, bring it
But
on.
my thing is, in the beginning there was a fall, right? And that fall constituted work. So really in the really, 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 really at the core of it, we were not designed to go to work. This is just a formality, right? So it kind of is. It's just a formality due to
Yeah.
some decisions some people made, right? Some people made some decisions that brought this onto us. So for me in my brain, it's like, yeah, of course I want to do something that's fulfilling, something that I think brings me joy. But I really think I understand what it is that I'm purposed to do, and that's to help people get better. I can do that anywhere. I mean, I can do that doing anything. I can do that, no wherever my feet tread, I can exemplify what it is that I want to do. So yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. And if I can kind of bring that together, there has to be a foundation to build upon becoming a great leader, and that foundation has to be built. But it may not necessarily matter when that foundation is built. We've become leaders quickly because we started to set that foundation earlier in our life, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't do it later. How does that feel?
No, I think that's you're exactly right. I mean, my my dad, man. I keep going back to my dad. My dad at one point when I was in college, he said that, man, I'm gonna go back to school online too because it looks easy. Now he got out of there really quickly, but I think just the mindset to say at the time he had to have been in his 50s to go back to school, I mean, online of all things. I mean, so I tend to think, especially the older I get, I'm gonna be real with you. I used to look at this age that I'm at currently, maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and scoff at it and go like, wow, those people are old, their life is done. Um, there's no way that, whatever it is you want to do, you need to do it now before, and when you get over 25 and get into your 30s, it's a wrap. And then I'm like, no, I'm looking forward to getting to 40.
Yeah,
I'm genuinely like, hey, all these stepping stones that we've built, all these bricks that we've laid, in this 20s decade of our lifetime, is really, we're starting to see the dividends of it, the fruit of it. And I'm like, man, we're continuing to sow. What does that look like? What is that going to look like the next 10 years of our lives? I'm excited to get old. I never thought that I when I was 16, 17 years old, I'd be like, man, life is over when you turn 30. I used to look at my brother's 8 years older than me. My older brother is. And
yeah,
I was like, yo, so I was 22, he turned 30. I was kind of like, yes, hang it up, but now I understand there's a whole lot more life there. And if you take care of yourself, if you make good decisions in that regard, you can elongate that life and do things that you want to accomplish.
I love that. I love that. This next question is coming from a place of a book that I'm reading. I'm reading Making Magic, which is written by a high level executive that spent most of their career at Disney, and did some incredible work while they were at Disney. And so I'm curious about your take as somebody that's really establishing themselves as a leader in this leadership conversation in the world, and also somebody that's worked at Chick Fil A for a really long time. But what are the little things that you think go a long way as a leader? What are those little things that really matter?
So I'm gonna give you the three, and then I'm gonna try to unpack them after I give them to you. Number one,
Yeah,
and these first two might go hand in hand, but empathy and compassion, I think, and then also vulnerability while maintaining competence, I think, are the things that kind of rise to the top for me, particularly now post COVID. Um, so Chick Fil A is a multi generational workplace. We got people who are in their 50s working there. The owner is in his 60s. A lot of our top level leadership is 25 plus to 35, and we work with a lot of people who are 22 and under, 18, 17 years old. So
right.
I come to see that the younger generation of people are looking for you to be more empathetic towards them as a person, the situations that they're going through, the things that they're seeing, and particularly where we, just I can't speak for other areas, but where we live, there's a lot of young people who are in households, and they're not terrible, but they may or may not be receiving the support. Let me rewind a little bit. Rewind the statement a little bit. I feel like the access that a younger demographic has to social media, that gives them a broader view of the world. Whereas when I was growing up, that view was a whole lot tighter. It was a little bit more controlled, and at least until your faculties were more mature to be able to receive certain things. And I feel like younger people are being exposed to things that are accelerating their growth, and they're not mentally mature enough to digest those things. And that's no knock to anybody. That's just the
Sure.
observation, right? And so I think that my role, again, talking about that pivot piece, is how do I hear them and understand them and not make them feel like they're less than because of the thoughts that they have. I think the great leaders have the ability to be able to bring themselves down from wherever position that they're at and see a person eye to eye, meet them where they're at. And I think that's where the empathy piece comes into play, is your ability to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, like genuinely, not just, oh, that's unfortunate. Not just, I think there's a difference between being sympathetic and empathetic. And I think number one, just the empathy piece of it, showing the compassion that kind of runs hand in hand with the empathy. And I'll just kind of go into the being vulnerable and being empathetic. If you're genuinely being empathetic, you're going to be vulnerable in the conversation where you can. If I'm talking to a team member or talking to, in a coaching session in our business where somebody brings something up that I know maybe was a weakness of mine 5, 10 years ago, having the
Right.
wherewithal, having the discernment and the wisdom to share that without dismissing your credibility, right? Without dismissing, your competence, but being able to have the ability to share where you fell short at as a leader, I think goes a long way because it humanizes you. It makes what you do look realistic to other people. Because I've fell into the trap of, again, I've been working for Chick Fil A for over 20 years, so I've seen waves of people come through our organization.
Right.
And so with that being said, is that sometimes I forget that there's some people who I grew up in the ranks with that are still there, and which is few of those people. There's a lot of people who came into the organization where I'm currently sitting, and they kind of have this view of me of like, okay, there goes Alex, there's, such and such, and I've got to create um avenues systematically to where we can connect, and I can show them that, no, I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. I get up, an alarm wakes me up just like you. Like I'm just like you as an individual, and I think as leaders we have to do more to be able to show the people that we're serving that we're just like them. I think a lot of times leaders look at the title, and it gives them a certain sense of like, I don't want to use the word arrogance, but a certain sense of like, I'm above. I don't, why are we interacting? It's so weird to me when I interact with people, and I don't, hopefully this doesn't land wrong. I interact with other leaders in other industries where of the culture of what they do for their people and how they interact with their people isn't as prevalent. Like, I've just had the luxury of working at Chick Fil A. Like, that's all I know, for the most part. So
Right.
Chick Fil A, we're not in the chicken business. We're in the people business. This love for people, and it's not just lip service. It's evident in everything that they've done. We've done corporately. And so
For
when I
sure.
see other people in other industries, and not all industries, there's other great companies out there besides Chick Fil A. But when I see other people in other industries and they're having to kind of they're at the mercy of their leaders, that they're not empathetic, they don't show that they're like them, I think those organizations ultimately suffer, just candidly speaking.
Yeah, yeah, that those are all really great things to consider, and a lot of the same things that I'm hearing, in this book from Disney that I'm reading, and just goes back to my original comment that Chick Fil A and Disney are at the top of the world and should probably rule it. Uh,
Yeah.
so to close out the show, I'd love to get that final piece of advice from you in this realm of leadership and leadership skills and developing these skills. What's that final piece of advice?
I think if I was to keep it simple, be grateful for where you are right now and build on top of that. I think a lot of times, us as individuals, particularly if you're in that 20-year-old, that 20, those in your 20s, you're looking at the successes of other people, and whether you realize it or not, you are shortchanging yourself and maximizing where you can be by looking at other folks' journey or looking at
Yeah,
where other people are along the way. Like, it's awesome to look at those examples and go, man, I want to be like that person. And sometimes you don't realize the level of sacrifice that that individual has put into place to get to where they're at. You've got to get acquainted with your own journey. You've got to get acquainted with being grateful and happy with where God has put you in the moment, and continue to build on that. Man, my dad, and I keep bringing him up. My dad, man, when I was a kid, I would ask, or I maybe in my early 20s, I would ask my dad, he's like, how's it going, and he was just taking it one day at a time. And I never got that. Like, I was just like, one day at a time. At work, we're thinking about a quarter ahead. We're thinking about a year ahead. We're is always, trying, how can we see and shape the future? But realistically, you can't do nothing. You cannot do anything about tomorrow unless you take care of today. And I
sure.
think that would be my little bit of advice. Don't get so caught up in the forest that you forget about the trees that are right in front of you. And I think sometimes as younger leaders, you can just look at like, oh, the potential of what could be, and you miss getting to that potential because you miss what was right in front of you. So that would be just to take care of what's in front of you. Rome wasn't built overnight. Appreciate the small victories that get you to your destination.
Wow. I love everything you just said. I'm going to have to listen back to this because that was really helpful. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for coming on the show. So, if people want to learn more about you and the work that you're doing, where should they go?
So I'm in a few places, all over the place. Sometimes it feels like, but you can find me on Instagram. On Instagram I am at TPE now NOW. That's at TPENOW. Also, my personal Instagram is at Alex ALEX underscore SEALE. YouTube, you can just search the Pivot Experience LLC. LinkedIn, you can search the Pivot Experience LLC, or you can search Alexandru Seale. I should appear there. Facebook, same thing.
Yeah.
We're pretty much across all the socials. Yeah, so those are our primary points of contact. If you want to, I'm sorry, Travis, we didn't really discuss this, but if you're looking to increase your leadership, go to www.tpenow.com and get a free discovery call. We can connect for 30 minutes to talk about your goals. And if there's anything you heard today that you might say, hey, I want to get with that guy, and I don't know how you get with Travis, I may be able to forward you to Travis if you want to talk to Travis and not talk to me. But if you want to talk to me or one of our coaches here, I will definitely love to connect with you in that regard.
Yeah, yeah, y'all got to connect with Alex. He's producing some great content. He's helping a lot of people out in the leadership realm and doing some great work. So I'm really happy to have this conversation. Really proud to know you now, and we're going to continue to learn how to adult together. Thank you so much to Alex for coming on the show and helping us all learn how to adult. To stay up to date on all things How to Adult, make sure that you follow at How to Adult TW on Instagram and Facebook. And remember, we're going to learn how to adult together. See you next time.